Greetings, YouTube. Mr. Gibson Guy here, and I want to welcome you to my home. Some of you may be familiar with my channel and videos that I have done. You'll know that I have mostly done music videos or motorcycle videos, or maybe motorcycle music videos, or music motorcycle videos, and playing music on a motor. Well, anyway, I'm doing something different today, going in a little different direction. And today I want to look at social issues currently, social issues of today. In particular, what I'm talking about is self-defense. Now, self-defense is something that goes back a long time, and something that is pretty reasonable and understandable by most everybody. All right, you're in your house, late at night, you hear some noise going on in the other part of the house, you're concerned, somebody's in there that you didn't invite in, and they don't belong in. Now, what are you going to do about it? Well, you could challenge them with your machete, or maybe you have a baseball bat you could challenge them with. But what happens if that person outweighs you by 100 pounds? What if it's somebody who is a lot bigger and meaner than you are? Well, we've known for the past couple hundred years that there are equalizers around that will make a 90-pound woman just as tough as a 200-pound man as far as being able to stop somebody. Something like a Glock. And this has been known as the whole idea behind self-defense in your home for generations. Somebody's in there that doesn't belong, you pull out this and you say, leave, they don't, boom, you shoot them. If they're not heading away from you, they're heading to the floor. That's self-defense, and that's been going on. So, well, let me give you a little bit of my background with firearms. I'm just about 68 years old now. Got a few more months, and I don't want to rush it. But my father first taught me to shoot with his .22 caliber bolt-action rifle almost 60 years ago. And I have been involved in shooting sports ever since then. I have a lot of background with it. I have watched changes with gun design, with weapons, with ammo, and with norms of what we would use. Nowadays, pretty much everybody has a concealed carry permit. Back when I was a youngster, it was a very different world. You had to know somebody or bribe somebody to get a concealed carry permit. Now, the states have all changed that, so people who are legally qualified, not disqualified, and produce the fingerprints and the picture, photo, background check to pass and take the required courses, can legally carry a weapon concealed on you in public, except for all the places where you're not allowed to bring it. But it's a good start, and so things have changed a lot. Things have also changed, unfortunately, in the area of self-defense. Just like with guns, self-defense is something different now. We had talked about self-defense being, you're in your bedroom, you hear somebody in the kitchen, you grab your gun, and you go out and you chase them out. Now, we're not talking about one single perpetrator attacking you, sneaking into your home or breaking into your home. We're talking about, we can have marauding, roving bands of people terrorizing neighborhoods. That's something that changed 20 years ago. I and a lot of people foresaw that was the direction our country was going, sadly enough. And a lot of people said, oh, well, that's never going to happen. Now it's happened. Despite them saying it's never going to happen, yeah, it's here. We're already experiencing it. It's going on. So, self-defense has moved from the hallway to outside your front door or your back door. Why is that? Well, we have gone through a lot of social pathologies. Many things have changed in the last 20 plus years. Opioid addiction, everything from Ritalin to Prozac, fentanyl, crystal meth, sexual deviation, video games, alcohol, and all manner of factors destroying people's self-worth, sense of self-being. Destroyed values. There are many people that don't have a clue what right or wrong even means. They couldn't even understand it. And all of those people are just ripe for the picking for totalitarians who want mobs to pillage and burn until they get their way and people give in. And that's what many of us saw coming. And it's arrived. After 20 years of the left saying, you're crazy, that would never happen. Now it's happened. So, from a shooter's perspective, what do you do about it? Well, here's a nice little item that would chase people off. .12-gauge shotgun. A 12-gauge shotgun. Look at this thing. This is a beauty, isn't it? It's big, it's long, it's scary looking. It's kind of heavy in the barrel. You kind of want that. I am amazed when I talk to people how many people don't even know what a shotgun means. They think that's a gun that you already shot. No, it's not. Okay? What makes a gun a shotgun? It has a smooth bore. It's not rifled. It doesn't have curls that are cut into the barrel to spin a projectile. And you can fire a 12-gauge slug shell out of this, make it a slug gun, but generally shotguns are made for a shot shell. Now what is a shot shell? It's a brass and plastic shell that contains gunpowder, propellant, and a bunch of little steel or lead balls. That's called shot. Now when you shoot a rifle, it shoots one projectile, one bullet, and it makes a nice neat little hole. When you shoot a shotgun, it shoots all of this shot all over the place like that. If you shoot somebody up close range with a shotgun, you blow their head off, or you blow their guts completely out. Or if they're across the street and you shoot them, you hit them with some of those steel balls, and it's probably not going to kill them, but it's going to really hurt a lot. And it works as a great deterrent force when somebody blasts a shotgun, besides the fact that this thing sounds like a cannon going off. So that sounds like a pretty good deterrent, doesn't it? But just like the knife, it's relative to who's wielding it. You know, some big strong guy with a machete can do a lot of damage with a machete. But some little lady trying to swing one, it's probably just going to be taken away from her by some big tough guy. It's not going to get much more than a little cut on the arm. He's going to take it away and chop her head off. If you're a little lady or a small framed male or a kid, shooting this 12 gauge is going to be like holding a cannon and shooting it. It's going to go boom like this. When you shoot it, it's going to leave you maybe black and blue on the shoulder. Not likely you're going to want to take a second shot. First shot's probably going to scare everybody away, but in case it doesn't. So, the 12 gauge shotgun might not be for everybody. What could be for everybody? Well, as a shooter for many years, I always thought my favorite rifle, the Winchester Model 1894, was the ideal assault rifle. It shoots a 30-30 Winchester cartridge, 30 caliber, 150 grain to 170 grain slug at about 2,400 feet per second muzzle velocity. And if you have to shoot somebody with a 30-30 and you hit them, it's very unlikely you will need a second shot, because this thing hits hard. Up to 100, 150 yards, 200 of them if you're really practiced with it. It's lightweight, it's short, relatively easy to handle. I still don't believe in shooting rifles indoors, because even something as small as this, which is the smallest long gun on the table here, they're hard to get through a hallway and hard to maneuver quickly. That's, something like this that's also very hard for a perp to take away from. So, this has far better ballistics, a lot more knockdown power than an assault rifle, what is so popular these days. And it can be kind of intimidating. It looks like it's a toy because it's small, but once you shoot it, it's not. It's also not too bad as far as how much kick you get out of it. The recoil is not real excessive on this. It can be an effective weapon, but there's one problem. After you shoot 6 rounds out of it, then you have to load 6 more rounds in it, one at a time through this door, slide them up this tube, so you're ready to shoot again. Loading one round at a time is never fast. That's why when the cowboys used guns like this, they had several guys shooting, and one guy would load while the other guys would shoot. But, hey, could be very good. We're now looking at mobs, unruly mobs that are just tearing our neighborhoods apart. And so I was happy with my Winchester until something happened a few months ago, middle of this summer. And I bet all of you are familiar with it. Does the name McCloskey's sound familiar? It does to me. You see, we had watched riots in Seattle, in Portland, in Wisconsin, and Minneapolis, in cities. We had watched cities burning. We had watched cars burning. We had watched windows broken, businesses plundered, not looted, plundered, and violence all over the place. And it was in the cities. And then it spread to some other cities. And then one day, it left cities, went into the suburbs, went into the neighborhood of Mr. and Mrs. McCloskey. And we got some very famous images of it. These mobs running down their street, destroying things, and Mrs. McCloskey holding up her semi-auto pistol, very unwisely not loaded. But she had a pistol, and Mr. McCloskey was out there with his AR-15. And I don't know what the status was, but I believe he was smart enough to load his AR-15. Now, this was the game changer for everybody. I think it should have been. And it changed my mind. I was never going to have an AR-15. I thought, it doesn't make sense. You don't need that. I like my Winchester. That would scare them off. But look what happened. The McCloskeys lived not just in the suburbs, not just in the neighborhood, they lived in a gated community. Well, the Antifa thugs came along, took out the gate, and just rode through the neighborhood, destroying anything that they wanted to. And there was Mr. and Mrs. McCloskey, ready for them. Now, as I said, Mrs. McCloskey did not load her gun, which was very unwise. Had she loaded her gun, and had Mr. McCloskey had his 30-round magazine and his AR, that would have put the two of them in their front yard, capable of stopping just about 50 thugs before having to reload. Yeah. I'm not sure what gun she had, but it was somewhere between 46 and 51 rounds between the two of them that they were ready to put out before reloading. That's a lot of lead. You've been looking at these other weapons. Like Glock 19 holds 15 before I have to change. The rifle or the shotgun, you're talking 5 or 6 shots, and then you got to reload the whole thing one at a time. With the AR, 30-round magazine, you got a lot of shooting to do before you have to put in another magazine. You can get a 40-round magazine. You can go 40 rounds before you have to reload. The barrel's going to get pretty hot there, but it's going to discourage a lot of people. Also, you look at something like that, when you see somebody holding a weapon like this, it's pretty intimidating just to see it. When you hear them go bang, 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 just like that, and just keep shooting bang, 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 bang with every trigger pull, the people at the other side of the gun are going to feel like, he's never going to stop shooting. I don't want to be anywhere around this place. I'm out of here. That is a deterrent. Also, for those of you who have kids, something else to think about is when you take out the magazine, you take out the bullets. You have an empty gun. This is an inert object. Can't do anything. So if your kids know where your gun is, but they don't know where your magazines are, all they can do with this is hit each other with it. It's not something they can fire without these. And also, you're going to have a gun like this. You don't want a 30-round magazine. You want 5 30-round magazines, or 10, and you want to keep them all charged, all fully loaded, and where you can get to them, not where the kids can get to them. And yes, you should, at a fairly early age, teach your children the respect of a firearm too. Now, that changed my mind, the whole scene with the McCloskeys. And as I said, I had foreseen what was going to be coming along 20 years ago. But when it started to happen, and it happened, and there it was, and we're living it. It just was like, wow, this really happened fast. And that changed people's views on what they like to call assault rifles. Assault rifles, you know the term? You know, the one that totalitarians are always telling us we don't need. We need buybacks, we need to take those away. You don't need anything like this. That's them saying, we're scared to death of you having something like this. For good reason. What's the reason? I'll say the word that people on the left want you to never think. That word is Switzerland. Switzerland. Yes, the happy Swiss neutral country. So peaceful, so calm, so boring. Switzerland, but picturesque, right? They make cheese, then they have banks, or they launder money. Well, let's look back in history a little bit. Back in the late 1930s, Adolf Hitler had solidified his control over Germany and was taking his armies and spreading them out across the continent of Europe, taking over other countries. They would come to the border and they would say, you let us in and you ally with Adolf Hitler, or we're going to come in and kill you and take over, and you'll ally with Adolf Hitler. All over Europe. Almost. There was one exception. Switzerland. Switzerland, where Steve McQueen tried to escape on a motorcycle, but he couldn't jump over the high barbed wire. Switzerland, yes. The neutral country. What happened? Adolf Hitler said, oh, my generals, you know, the Swiss are neutral. Let's just kind of skip around them. Leave them alone. We don't want to mess with them. We'll leave them. They're, you know, it'd be nice having a neutral country. We can kind of exchange stuff through them, the Red Cross, right? No. There was one reason why Hitler took over all of Europe and tried to take over England and tried to take over all the Soviet Union, but left Switzerland untouched. The reason was, in every house in Switzerland, they had a gun, very much like this, and a few thousand rounds of ammunition in each home, and the people were all trained to use it. And the Germans start coming. The Swiss people would go running to the border with their rifles, and they would just pick them off. Because Hitler might be able to mobilize 100,000 troops against 5 million Swiss, all armed. By the way, this is semi-automatic. The Swiss are fully automatic. Machine guns, like this. So that, my friends, is why the totalitarians on the left are constantly trying to deprive you of your assault rifle. Because they know they can't go up against 50 million armed Americans with these guns. Not happening, just like it wasn't happening with Hitler. I mean, yeah, they could nuke the whole country and kill everybody. What's the point of that? The idea of taking over a country is to take it over, not to just level it. So, what is going to happen now? We're facing an election. Everybody knows that the practices are over. The violence in the streets is going to erupt. My view is Trump is going to win in a landslide. The House and Senate will sweep out most of the Democrats, and none of them want to leave. So they're going to come up with their extra votes that they found lost in the mail, and they're going to keep fighting for it. And eventually the Supreme Court's going to say, like they did in 2000, stop, enough. But when the Supreme Court said that in 2000, Al Gore said, well, what do I do now? You give up. But in 2020, well, in 2016, they knew Hillary was going to win. So they didn't need violence in the streets. So they were not prepared for violence in the streets, and we didn't have violence in the streets. But they knew in 2020, they were going to lose again. They will always lose. And so they're going to have to cheat. And then they had to have some way to enforce it. So for the past 4 years, they've been building up their army, preparing them to take to the streets. And that's what they've been doing. And we've got all these Democrat prosecutors in all these states that as quickly as these rioters, these violent thugs get arrested, these state attorneys let them turn them loose again. You're free. Go out and sin more. That's what they're telling them. And that's how the genie's been let out of the bottle. They're not going to stop. They're just going to keep going. They're just going to get more and more violent, more and more deaths, more and more destruction. Because they have been trained, they can get away with it. And there's nothing anybody can do. But there is something that somebody can do. That's the whole idea behind this video, because of this. We need 20 million or 50 million more Americans to start shooting rifles like this, to take it seriously, men and women. We need a community, a town, a city, instead of building a baseball field or basketball courts, to put up shooting ranges, civic shooting ranges for all concerned citizens who want to practice their skills, just like they have always done in Switzerland. We need American people to be like the Swiss, to take back our streets, to be able to stand there. Imagine this scenario. On Facebook and Twitter, the word goes out, Saturday morning in downtown, we're having a riot. And all the BLM and Antifa thugs show up, ready to go, and there's no cops. There's just 500 armed citizens, all lined up, standing there, saying, go home. Now. And they will. And when that happens, that is when the genie goes back in the bottle. And that's when America becomes a safe place again. That's what it's going to take. So, that's my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and think about that. Keep asking yourself why the left is so deathly afraid of us having guns like the Swiss have. Have a